Hi everybody, this is episode 4 of Quarantine Kitchen and I'm your host Clinton, and today we're going to be making a perfect dish for your upcoming quarantine Easter. It's a chocolate mousse, but without eggs and without milk. You might be asking yourself, is that even possible? And if it is, I'm not sure I want to eat it. I promise you, we've made this dish before. It's delicious, it's quick, and it's easy. And it's perfect for Easter this year. So let's go right into the ingredients. Like I said, not a lot. You need a can of chickpeas, your favorite chocolate. Today we're going to be using dark chocolate, because that's what I prefer, and white sugar. And that's it. In terms of tools, you're going to have, you need a pan and a heat-proof bowl. And then lastly, you're going to need a mixer of some sort because you're going to be whisking some ingredients. And it's very important. You can try to do it by hand, I'll explain later, but it would be a lot harder and a lot more work. All right, so to start, we're going to begin with the chocolate. Now, our chocolate is already in little pieces. If you have a bar of chocolate, no problem. Just go ahead and chop it up into pieces. You want it to be about the size of a coin, more or less. And we're going to melt the chocolate. And to do that, you can't do it directly on the stove. You need to do it in a bain-marie, which means here we have our pan of boiling water. And then using the heat-proof bowl, we're going to go ahead and put our chocolate in there. This is 200 grams of chocolate. Put it in the water. And as you can see, it's already melting. We're going to just keep stirring it. And the reason we're doing it over boiling the water is you don't want to burn the chocolate. If you do that, it's going to break apart and you won't be able to use it to cook with. You might be surprised, but chocolate can be very temperamental depending on the temperature. So go ahead and just keep stirring it. You don't want it to burn. Getting a nice consistency there. Almost melted. And there we go. We have ourselves our melted chocolate. You want to take it off immediately and set it to the side. We want it to cool down a little bit before we're going to use it. Turn off your stove. You're done with that now. Now you're going to take your can of chickpeas and you're going to use liquid. Now, you are not cooking with the chickpeas themselves. That will not be going in your mousse. What we're going to use is the water that the chickpeas are in. That is what's going to be your substitute for the eggs and what's going to create a great whip to your mousse. So here we have a strainer and a bowl underneath because, like I said, you want to catch the liquid that the can of chickpeas is in. Make sure you get all the water in there. There we go. And in case you guys were wondering, this liquid that the chickpeas were sitting in is called aquafaba. And I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. And if you guys are at all into vegan cuisine, this is one of the great substitutes for eggs for many different types of recipes. And it's going to be perfect for today's recipe. And it's also very useful during quarantine times. So, now you're going to open up your mixer. We're going to put in our aquafaba. Again, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Okay. You're going to take a half cup of sugar, that's 115 grams. You're going to put it in directly with the liquid. You're going to go ahead now, put it on the mixer, and we're going to go ahead and start it. Now, just before I get this going, it's going to take approximately 10 minutes. And what you want is you want to whip it to the point where you get peaks on it. We're going to show you when it gets there so you have a visual.
10 minutes later.
All right, so it's been about 10 minutes. We're gonna go ahead and turn off our mixer. Now, like I said, you guys can do this by hand. It'll just take a little bit longer and a little bit more strength, a little bit more work to it, but that's no problem. It is possible. What you want your end consistency to look like is something like this. Isn't that pretty amazing? Look at that, all that whipped up. And that's just from the leftover water from chickpeas and some white sugar. So, the final step in this recipe is you're going to take your melted chocolate from earlier, which has cooled down a little bit, and you're going to go ahead and mix it directly in with your aquafaba and sugar mixture here. There we go, get all the chocolate in there. It's not very hot anymore, which is good. And then you're going to fold it over with the chocolate, just like you would when you make your normal mousse. Look at the consistency of that. First time I did this recipe was for a friend who is vegan, and Simon and I are not vegan, so I don't have a lot of experience doing any vegan cuisine, but I was excited by the challenge, and that's how I discovered this recipe. Now, of course, if you wanted to make this a fully vegan recipe, you would have to use vegan chocolate, which we did not today. But those of you who are interested, if you change your chocolate to vegan, then this is a fully vegan recipe. And what I like about some vegan recipes is that it challenges your normal cooking methods in the kitchen, such as using the water from chickpeas, which I had no idea was possible, and I'm so thankful I learned about it because it has opened a whole new door in cooking for me. So, all right, there we go. And that is our chocolate mousse. It's just about done. Now, just like normal chocolate mousse, you do need to put this in the fridge for a few hours. I believe when I did this recipe last time, 1 hour was enough, but I like to do minimum 3 hours in the fridge because that will give it the perfect consistency. So, and you need to make sure you cover it up. So take some plastic film and cover the top of your container. Excuse me. Make sure it's closed up. And now we're going to go ahead and pop this in the fridge, and we'll see you guys in 3 hours.
A few hours later.
Okay, so it's been 3 hours. We're going to go ahead and pull out the mousse. And we're going to put it in some little bowls for dessert tonight. Now, earlier, so this is a very basic recipe that we've done tonight. You can always spice it up when you're doing the liquids in the blender with the chickpea water and with the sugar. You can always add a tablespoon of coffee or a tablespoon of liquor. I often like to put Cointreau in there, the orange liquor. That's very nice. Otherwise, you can just stick with what we're doing. Once you've waited a few hours in the fridge and you're ready to serve it, I recommend you put it into some small dishes for the number of people you'll be serving at night. For tonight, it'll be 2. And see how the consistency has changed since we put it in the fridge? Now, we probably could even do it a little bit longer. If you can go like 4 or 5 hours of leaving it in the fridge, you're going to get an even nicer texture. And that's a very, very important part of the process. So if you are going to make this for Easter, for example, make sure you give yourself plenty of time to do that. Now, one of the things that you can do when you serve your mousse that Simon and I are not doing tonight is I love to use some whipping cream. I'll put it in the blender and I'll whip it up and I'll just put it right on top. It makes a really nice addition to your mousse. And then you can add any type of nuts or cranberries, dried fruits. Is also a delicious addition to your mousse. So there we go. And then to finish it off, I always grind up a little bit of chocolate to put on top because it's pretty and it adds a little bit more of that cocoa taste to it. And here I'm using a 90% just because I think since you're not putting a lot, you want a strong taste. And you got like a double chocolate effect going on here. Another thing I also like to add to this is fresh raspberries if you have them. That's a wonderful, wonderful thing to put on there. Okay, now that we've done it, this side, we're going to do the official taste testing and see how it came out. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Does it taste like normal mousse? It's pretty darn tasty. It's light, it's fluffy, it doesn't have a hint at all of chickpeas, so don't worry about that.